In the grand theater of global politics, alliances like the US-Japan partnership have long been seen as unshakable. Yet, as we stand in the autumn of 2025, whispers of Japan considering a pivot to BRICS are growing louder. The catalyst? A relentless trade war, reignited by aggressive US tariffs that target even allies. Japan, once a beneficiary of global trade, now finds its economic strategy under threat. The question is no longer if the alliance will be tested, but how much strain it can endure. Imagine a world where Japanese technology flows to BRICS markets instead of the US. For Japan, the choice is stark: remain tethered to a volatile partner or seek new alliances. The summer of 2025 marked a turning point in the trade war. The global economic landscape was about to undergo a seismic shift, driven by a series of aggressive policies from the United States. President Trump's tariffs, including a 50% levy on copper, sent shockwaves globally. These measures were designed to protect American industries but had far-reaching consequences that rippled through international markets. Allies like Japan faced a 25% tariff on goods, a broad assault on their economies. This move strained relationships and forced these nations to rethink their economic strategies. The US tariff rate soared to levels unseen since the 1930s, collecting billions in revenue. This protectionist approach was reminiscent of the Great Depression era, raising concerns about a potential global economic downturn. Japan, caught between its security partner and emerging economies, faces a dilemma. The country must navigate a complex web of alliances and economic dependencies. The chaotic approach shattered global trade stability, leaving nations in uncertainty. The unpredictability of US policies made it difficult for countries to plan their economic futures. A temporary trade deal with Japan feels more like a truce than peace. The agreement provided short-term relief but did little to resolve the underlying tensions. The relentless tariff threats have left Japan questioning its reliance on the US. The country is now exploring alternative markets and partnerships to mitigate the risks. The financial impact is immense, with Japan's economy in the crosshairs. Industries are struggling and the stock market is experiencing unprecedented volatility. The US pressures allies while isolating geopolitical rivals, creating a complex trade war. This strategy aims to reassert American dominance but risks alienating long-standing partners. Japan's position is precarious, caught between a rock and a hard place. The nation must balance its economic interests with its security commitments. The unpredictability of US policy forces Japan to reconsider its alliances. The country is now looking to strengthen ties with other global powers to ensure its economic stability. The trade war is more than economic, it's a strategic recalibration for Japan. The nation is rethinking its role on the global stage, balancing economic growth with national security. For more than 70 years, the US-Japan alliance has stood as a pillar of stability in Asia, shaping the region's security and prosperity. This partnership, forged in the aftermath of World War II, has weathered many storms. But today, it faces unprecedented strain and uncertainty. The US security guarantee allowed Japan to focus on rebuilding and economic growth, while the US benefited from a reliable ally in a strategically vital region. This created a deeply interdependent, symbiotic relationship that fueled decades of prosperity for both nations. However, recent tariff threats and escalating trade tensions have put this historic alliance to the test, raising questions about the future of economic cooperation. Japan now faces demands for politically toxic concessions, especially in its vital auto and steel industries, which are the backbone of its economy and national pride. Frustration grows in Tokyo as leaders and citizens alike feel Japan is being treated more as a rival than a trusted friend, undermining decades of goodwill. As trust erodes, Japanese officials are forced to reconsider their country's strategic posture, debating whether to rely so heavily on the US for security. The once ironclad security guarantee now seems less certain, casting a shadow over the alliance's future. In Parliament, Japanese lawmakers openly question the reliability of the US as a partner, a conversation that would have been unthinkable just a few years ago. The ongoing trade war plants seeds of doubt in the minds of policymakers and the public, fueling anxiety about Japan's economic future. These tensions threaten to unravel a key alliance that has long been a foundation of peace and stability in the region. Now, Japan faces a difficult crossroads. Should it remain loyal to its traditional partner, or begin to explore new alliances and diversify its diplomatic ties? The current situation forces Japan to rethink its long-term strategy, weighing the risks and opportunities of a rapidly changing world. The threatened 25% tariff on Japan's economy strikes at its industrial core, sending shockwaves through the nation's most vital industries. For decades, Japan has built its reputation on manufacturing excellence, with its factories powering not just the domestic economy, but also supplying the world with high-quality goods. The automotive sector, a symbol of Japanese excellence and innovation, now faces severe challenges. Japanese automakers, known for their efficiency and reliability, are suddenly confronted with a new reality, one where their vehicles could become too expensive for key overseas markets. Tariffs would make Japanese cars less competitive abroad, leading to production cuts, layoffs, and a potential loss of market share. The impact would be felt not just by large corporations, but by thousands of workers and their families across the country. The ripple effects would impact the entire supply chain, affecting countless smaller companies that supply parts and services to the automotive giants. From logistics firms to local manufacturers, the pain would be widespread and deeply felt. Japan's technology and electronics industries, already facing fierce global competition, also face a severe blow. Tariffs threaten to erode their competitive edge, making it harder to maintain their position as world leaders in innovation. The tariff turmoil shatters the stability Japanese companies have long relied on, introducing a level of unpredictability that makes it difficult to plan for the future. Boardrooms across the country are filled with anxiety and urgent discussions. Business leaders now operate in constant uncertainty, forced to reconsider investments and expansion plans. The fear of further economic shocks looms large, hindering long-term growth and innovation. Japan's over-reliance on the U.S. market, once seen as a strength, now becomes a strategic vulnerability. The risks of depending too heavily on a single trading partner are suddenly clear. The tariffs are a wake-up call, forcing Japan to diversify its trade relationships and seek new markets. Diplomats and trade officials are now working overtime to forge new alliances and secure alternative export destinations. The search for new partners becomes an urgent national security imperative, as the government scrambles to protect jobs and maintain economic stability in the face of mounting pressure. Japan's economic pain prompts a strategic rethink of its global position, pushing leaders to adapt, innovate, and chart a new course for the nation's future in an increasingly uncertain world. Japan hasn't joined BRICS yet, but circumstances could push it there. A failed negotiation with the US could lead to severe economic consequences. Factories might close, unemployment could rise, and Japan could face a recession. American unilateralism could isolate Japan, leaving it exposed on the world stage. A direct threat to Japan's security could shatter the post-war alliance. BRICS, with its vast markets, becomes an attractive alternative for Japan. The bloc's support for multilateralism aligns with Japan's goals. Joining BRICS would be a pragmatic calculation of national interest. The move would be driven by economic survival, not anti-American sentiment. Japan's old strategy is no longer viable in a changing world. The tipping point comes when staying in the old alliance becomes too painful. BRICS, originally an economic club of emerging economies, offers Japan a new path. Joining would mean pivoting away from the G7 and aligning with a diverse group. Japan could become a leading voice within a bloc representing a significant global population. The economic benefits include access to fast-growing markets and infrastructure projects. Japan's expertise would be in high demand among BRICS nations. However, challenges include navigating complex relationships with diverse political systems. Aligning with countries under US sanctions would be risky. Japan would need to balance economic benefits with geopolitical risks. Joining BRICS would be a bold move into uncharted waters. The decision would transform Japan's global role and influence. It would be a strategic diversification of Japan's economic portfolio. Japan joining BRICS would trigger a geopolitical earthquake. The US would likely view it as a profound betrayal, responding punitively. The security relationship would be thrown into crisis with potential troop withdrawals. BRICS nations would welcome Japan, seeing it as a strategic gain. Japan's entry would elevate BRICS' status and influence globally. US allies would be unsettled, questioning their own alliances. The move could trigger strategic recalculations across the Indo-Pacific. Europe would face pressure to choose sides in an escalating confrontation. The world would divide into competing economic and geopolitical blocs. Japan's decision would redraw the map of global power. The world would become more fragmented and less predictable. Geopolitical shifts impact daily lives profoundly. In Japan, a trade war with the US would cause immediate economic shock. Layoffs and rising prices would squeeze household budgets. The promise of new BRICS markets offers hope, but short-term pain is sharp. In the US, car prices would rise, hitting middle-class families hardest. Job losses in states with Japanese factories could occur. Tariffs intended to protect jobs might disrupt supply chains instead. Globally, a stronger BRICS bloc offers new opportunities for developing nations. However, a divided world would create widespread uncertainty. The free flow of goods and ideas would be choked off. Trade wars could diminish quality of life for many.